And welcome back. We are here. I'm having conversations with the presenters at Music for People's SummerBreeze MusicFest, taking place online on June 12th. And today I am thrilled to be talking to my friend, another Canadian. We are few and far between. Irene is coming to us from Montreal. Bonjour,
Yay!
Irene. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Sharon. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. It's a little sticky here these days, isn't it?
It's sticky here in
Oh, yeah.
Montreal as well. We have our island effect, so it gets
Yeah.
quite hot and humid here.
Yeah, yep, we've got it. I'm on the north side of the lake, so yeah, it's kind of muggy. So listen, Irene is teaches music at Concordia and at the McGill Schulich School of Music. She's got a pop music, musical, opera background. And one of the great things I love doing when we do get together and she and I get to play together is we make up operas. And I'll play the piano. We've done it a few times, and I love doing it with you because we just, go off and we make up operas um, without the libretto much. But anyway, it's awesome. So Irene is also heading up the Music for People musicianship and leadership program in Montreal right now. So she is and part of the online group because we're all online. And this time at our SummerBreeze Music Fest, her session is on bringing any voice into music. So Irene, tell me about it. Tell us about it.
Thank you, Sharon. Basically, I teach this to my music education class at McGill Schulich School of Music. The education class that I teach is vocal techniques. And this approach uses music for people inspired techniques. And the whole idea is, how do I get to know my class? I walk into the classroom for the first day or into a choir for the very first time or a community singing group, and I don't know much about the voices there. How do we get to know them? And that's even more challenging in the general education situation, right? It's, you don't know, especially if you're in high school and teenagers are already, dealing with voice change and so many things that are happening in their own lives, that how can we meet our singers where they are?
Yeah, awesome.
And so, in other words, rather than us just choosing repertoire at the beginning and then we try to fit them into the choral repertoire, the concert repertoire for the year, I was thinking, wow, what about doing the reverse? And so you begin your singing classes with improvisation. So you're getting to know the voices in the classroom. You're also working on developing their vocal skills, getting them comfortable because you're meeting them where they are. So in other words, if in an environment where there are no wrong notes, the listening becomes a lot more open. So sure, we're going to create some funky chords, but we know those funky chords are going to exist in a lot of the repertoire. So instead of them cringing, they're going to actually really sharpen up their ears. And if some people have low or medium voices, or some people might only feel comfortable in a very narrow range, that's fine. We can make that work. And so we're developing the vocal skills, the ensemble skills as well, the listening skills, and they get to know each other. So we're also breaking down the barriers by having them also giving them an opportunity to shine in the particular areas where they shine. Some might be really strong with rhythm and beatboxing. Some of them might be really strong with harmonizing. And I've had some who are really good harmonizers who just like to sing sort of the high notes right in the background. And then there are some that just love, the opportunity to be a bass.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yep.
just makes them really happy. So, so what we do is, so what I want to introduce people to is, well, how do we start this? So what happens that first day that you step into a classroom and you're with your group of strangers? And this is what this session will be all about.
So that just sends me off into all different kinds of directions, which because I've, coming back from an educator background, from a choral directing background, from a band background. And I know what every single choral teacher is going through right now and has been going through in April, May, other than the, whatever's happening scholastic, if they're going back into in person, if they're, whatever they're going, whatever it is, they are trying to find repertoire. and they're buying new choral music for their kids. They're finding something new. Oh, this would be cool. There's new publications coming out. And I've done that. So this would be great to do. I bring it to the women's choir and it goes, oh yeah, no, this isn't going to work. And we all know that happens, or, and then we find some bizarre thing that will work. But what a great way to turn it upside down and say,
Exactly.
wait, let's get to know the kids first. And we do that in regular classroom too. It's kind of baffling that we don't do that and play and, in our choral or our band, classrooms and so on.
Well, it develops that whole, well, first of all, people become less fearful, which is, I don't fit in, or we're also building the team player skills as well. What is it to listen to each other? Because if we're really self-conscious about trying to meet the demands of the piece, we're not listening to each other. We're worried about the notes that we're singing.
Exactly. And one of the things that Music for People does so well, and I've been in the program, I've been with it for over 30 years now. Go back. And I've noticed it in my teaching and in my public and community stuff. The strength that, Music for People has this mastered. We are masters in helping people come together from all different kinds of directions and abilities and experiences and fears and excitement and people, all individual. And we take them, with our NFP stuff, take them exactly where they are with all that they bring to it. And everybody has a place in the choir. Everybody finds their voice.
And what is choral repertoire? And it's changing. We want to, we're talking about having a more, I want to call that a diverse, inclusive choir. What is a diverse, inclusive choir? What does that mean? Yeah. And I think if I were to really simplify it, I think what that means is meeting students where they are, or meeting singers where they are. Find out their interests. And what better way than establishing trust through play?
And that really kind of, I can feel the stress, the little bit of stress that a choral conductor, let's just stay with choral conductor right now, it'd be the same with band, going, oh my gosh, I've got a concert in November. I've got these 14 concerts all through December because we know what December is doing. And then I've got the festival in February and I've got the festival and I've got to get the kids all prepped for that. And to spend the first few weeks playing in our heads, if I were in that old space, it would be, I don't think so. And I know that because I've offered to, I go into classrooms and into choirs. And I can't do it now because we got festival coming up. I can't do it now because we have this concert coming up.
Right.
So for people coming to this workshop who are in that place and are going, yeah, I get it. And yes, wouldn't that be great? But I've got this stuff to prepare and there's stuff in the curriculum. What would you say for them coming to this workshop that would let them breathe?
You're spending those first weeks listening, charting. Who moves well? Who sings well? What's their bend? What's their style? Is it a little more R&B? Is it rap? Do you have a couple of them who are real star rappers? Do you have a couple who really sing harmony easily? So you're busy charting out your program. You might even find that doing smaller ensembles might fit. You might find you'll be able to integrate the whole choir. And with the improvisation techniques, you could maybe even add things to the choral arrangements, especially if you're pressed for time. So for the singers who might, I will say it, struggle more, especially students going through voice change, you might even be able to design the parts for cambiata, for changing voices, for example. You might be able to design your own parts based on ostinato patterns, based on all these amazing things. So that time is valuable because it's that time that you're actually taking notes and taking stock of, hey, this is what I have to work with.
So it's really just helping the people coming to Saturday's workshop with you. It's going to give them, and we'll talk a bit about a mindset shift that then they can take into September to say, okay, and some confidence in giving this a try and trusting that it will turn out. So that would be awesome for anybody's. And I'm hoping, and I could see this also easily going down into grade 7, 8, and 4, 5, into elementary and so on.
Yes. And adult community choirs too.
Yes, for sure.
So it has great applications in so many places. And there are, as soon as you get comfortable knowing their ranges, you can also start introducing rather simple materials as early as the second week, because you'll already have materials to choose from. You're not trial and erroring everything.
Yeah, and you could be pulling, if you've got repertoire that you want to get, you can pull a line, a pattern out of that music that might be a stumbling, and and put it into an improv. So when it comes to the written music, they've got something. They've got something there. They've got the confidence and doing that with. Awesome. So so what are some things? So as people come to this, whether they're educators or not, because really it's for everybody. How are we going to do this online?
I would say that I would frame it as this. This is an opportunity to get to know your voice. Because as you get to know your voice, that's going to sensitize you to the process that others go through. So we'll often begin in a webinar format, and I've been doing this with my You Sing series, same idea, which is just helping people get to know, where am I most comfortable in my voice? So working in the webinar format, I will start, usually we do a movement warm-up. So I get an idea. I start seeing as I'm looking at my little squares, because of course right now that's all I have. Right. All right, who are the people comfortable in movement? Who are the people who are a little less comfortable in movement? And that's okay. But it helps me really get a sense, and that way I can steer the group. And then I'll usually start with something like, when we go into singing, I'll start usually with pulse and rhythm, because it's a nice, less threatening way, and we begin there. So perfect example is I'll set up a groove, because I'm very, very comfortable setting up a groove. And we get people to set a groove, and then I start teaching people. So, hey, what if you stop? And now, what I just did, think up your own groove. Start dancing in your body. Start hearing a song you love, maybe. And can you hear that in your head? Or can you hear that beat in your head? What if you start to move your body? Getting connected physically, embodying the music we listen to, feeling it in our bodies. So moving the body to that rhythm, and then bringing it into just making percussive sounds.
Shall we just do a little demo for ourselves?
Yeah.
Let's do it right here.
So I'll demonstrate.
I'm one of your boxes.
Inflect the voice a little more. Keep dancing. So of course with Zoom, we have internet latency. So as much as I would love to groove with you, I can't. But what I can do is I can do long notes to your groove. So take it away, Sharon. So I was tapping in, trying to, even over Zoom, trying to really, really, really capture where your beat was. Moving, I picked up your beat in my body. And through Zoom, I was finding my way to you. So I can even demonstrate this live with a choir, which is pretty fun. But doing the small beats, inflecting, so sometimes, at first I'll have to demonstrate it. So what is it, what would high percussion sound like? And of course, some people, when you're live especially, you realize people are uncomfortable with that. So I know right away, ooh, okay, these guys will probably be more comfortable in the alto sections, maybe some in the tenor, maybe some in the baritone, this kind of idea. So we start with that. But on Zoom, of course, we've had to modify it in that way. So that's just one lovely entry point in.
Awesome. Yeah. What else? What other kinds of things might they come or might? So if, and I'm thinking, some people may not be able to make it. We would love them to make it, but it'd be nice for them to be able to, have some stimulation and,
Isn't it nice to encourage also students to say, or your singers to say, have you ever really just explored where your voice wants to be? So what if I just start with one note? Oh, I love that note. It feels good. Ooh. If it's not good, search around, find one that you like. Someone might prefer that. Ooh, but if you find your one note, so what happens then if you slide? Ooh. And if they don't know how to slide, then I go, oh, wow. So I always come back to speech. Always come back to speaking, because we are more free with our spoken voice. So if I say, hey, Sharon, can you go, what?
What?
No way.
No way.
You just matched all my pitches. So the moment I go into speech inflection,
people get it.
And then
It's
people
there.
match pitches, and I say, see, you can match pitch.
Yeah.
But the moment we relate the speaking voice and the singing voice, so then, okay, let's come back to your note that you love. Ooh, and what if you go, ooh, 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 and move with it. Ooh, 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 ooh. And then I'll usually do, huh? Can you do that one?
Huh?
Right. So I get people to be less afraid of that crack. So I go, oh. So if you go, oh,
Oh.
right? And then if I go, yeah, don't sing it, speak it. There you go. Now give it a little movement. And we play with that idea of movement and self-discovery. And of course, with guiding, does it feel tight? It shouldn't feel tight. Does your voice when you speak ever feel tight? No. So if you, it's small, it's comfy. So we also look for vocal freedom, meaning where people are. Of course, live, we do things like the spontaneous quartets at Music for People. Right? So you can be walking around in a room. So we get everybody, for example, just do an ostinato groove. So you're walking around the class, we introduce it, and then we just get everybody making up their own, gather them up into quartets.
That's one of the coolest things.
Oh, I so miss that. I can't wait till we're doing this again.
We'll get there. But
we'll probably have to be really far apart. So I'll have to tell singers, please don't yell if we don't want to tire out. But, so imagine taking that and then having them demonstrate their spontaneous groove. So meanwhile, we're watching, we're sensing, the educator is getting a sense of what kind of music, because what comes out in our improvisation is our musical vocabulary.
Right.
Where we come from musically, and all of our musical experiences. So then imagine we have them take it for a walk again. And I'm asking, so bring your voice high, bring your voice low, bring your voice medium. All right, what feels best? Where does your voice want to go? High, low, or medium? All right, here's a corner of the room. High voices, come and find each other. Medium voices, come find each other. Low voices, come here, come find each other. So they get into their groups, and then I say, hey, okay, if are you feeling sure that you are where you need to be? If not, let's go back to grooving now. And all three groups are grooving. Take a walk and see whether you might fit more comfortably in another group. So we're getting them to self-select their parts, in a sense.
Right.
And I love that, because it it takes that stress away. Because, yeah, we might know as the choral conductor that this person's ready to sing soprano, but are they
They don't
ready
know
to sing
yet.
soprano?
Yeah, exactly. So we're online. This joy, you guys have made the MLP program work online this past year. Listen, while we're here, because Irene is one of the main teachers in the MLP, she heads up an MLP program in Montreal, and when it's live, particular, she has a group that she's gathered there.
And we're building momentum. We've
Building-
got some people from Ontario in our group now.
Oh my gosh, they're coming! And he just got one
Yay!
in London, because Montreal is another whole, whole distance. So anyway, but so for people coming to this, maybe they can come for a day, maybe they go, because we've all done this. Oh my gosh, I've had so much fun. I want to do more. Can you speak a little bit about your role and what the MLP is, the Musicianship and Leadership Program is? I've had other people speak about it, but I've got you and Mary, may as well take it, from the horse's mouths, as it were. So speak a little bit about the MLP and what might entice people, what maybe brought you into it, what other people come and what grabs them, and what's possible.
I'm going to frame it in what has happened in the past year, because I believe that the pandemic and our adjustments to pandemic life and online has actually made us grow in an incredible way that none of us expected. First things is that we never imagined, back in September when we had over 50 people join the program from all over the world, I was looking at all these little screens going, oh my God, it's surreal. It's just these faces on these little screens. And I thought, how am I going to get to know these people? And now, since September 14th about to now, we've become a community. We look forward to seeing each other. And this is just online. I have never I've maybe met 2 or 3 of these people live.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, there's a few who've come back into the program. So let's say less than 10.
But still, that's it.
But still.
But MFP has been able to create community online.
This community formed.
Yep.
And it is amazing. So now that we're moving towards September, I gathered up all the Canadians and we just had a brainstorming session. And I said, hey, what do you think this could look like in the coming year? And what we all came to the conclusion was that we don't want to lose these regular online gatherings because it was more accessible financially, travel-wise, and, it's just easier to fit into the schedule time-wise. So what better thing than to know that, hey, I could still do this online and I don't have to travel from point A to point B. Or even when we were in Montreal, it worked great in the fall, but then we got into winter and oh my God, I mean, Canadian winters are one thing. It's terrible. And there were so many days there was ice or something that happened. And so in the winter, it was always so difficult to bring us together. But how good to know that we have this option. Okay. So we're thinking of, we are designing, not thinking, we are designing a hybrid model. The hybrid model will keep our international community together. That means that people who are in Europe, in the United States, Asia, they can still connect with each other.
Right.
And then offering the weekend workshops as a double bonus.
Right.
So, wow, you get to do this live and meet everybody live. And what an incentive, because you've already spent time with these people online.
Exactly.
And you're probably just thinking, wow, I just want to sit in that circle and play with that double bassist or play with this percussionist, or, I love the way she plays guitar. Let's try this. So what an amazing thing, just to even imagine what it will be like when this group comes together live. I mean, it's just going to be an explosion of music.
Yeah. And so for those who would be thinking they may have come to Midwinter Music Fest, they'll come to SummerBreeze Music Fest.
Yes.
And then they'll say, okay, I need to do this. Could you say a little bit about the MLP itself, and who comes and what happens and how we get in, just like in the technical?
Okay. So in other words, for someone who doesn't know about the program and wants to
know
join.
about the program, says, okay, I want to do this. I've heard about this MLP. I just had this great experience, or I've been talking to people. Somebody is dragging me in. I want to do this training. Because this is the other thing with COVID, the whole pandemic thing, the idea of improvisation and being flexible, and there's so much of what we've done for 30 years, suddenly other people are doing bits and pieces of it, and we've been doing it together for 30 years.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And I will say, being an improviser has been a lifesaver, because boy, yes, flexibility and being open to change. So
Okay,
what
so
I would say to
come into the training, so very, very succinctly and structurally.
So do you want to learn about improvisation? Do you want to enhance your own listening and musicianship skills? Do you want to find that there's a whole other way to approach music and to teach music that is not about the score?
Perfect.
That is,
I mean, that's really it. There, those three things are the foundational. If you say yes to any one of those, this is it. Okay.
Exactly.
So we have 3 levels.
So we have 3. So there are 3 levels. Now, the beauty about the 3 levels is that you can complete each level takes 1 year. You can complete 1 year and you can say, this is good. I need this right now. I'm good. Gee, I don't know if I can come back next year. But for each level, you receive a certification. So level 1, you receive this. You've done these 40 hours of training. You've been online. You might have come to 1 live session. Hopefully that will be the case, or 2 live sessions. You've done home play. There is homework. I mean, we have to get into our own self-search, right? Because it's not only about connecting with others, the more connected we are with ourselves. So yes, you will be doing your own practicing and recording at home. You'll have the opportunity to do ensembles with others. We discovered, thanks to Alina and Todd, Soundtrap, which is an amazing way to collaborate with others asynchronously, but it works beautifully. So you get a chance to really hone your skills and find out who you are musically. So what does it involve? No prior musical experience is necessary. I will say that those who have never had any musical experience sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable because they feel that they should know more. And our answer to them is always, no, you are full of music. Stick with it. And they do. And they are very surprised what happens when they do stick with it. It's beautiful because they gain that confidence that they can take in many different directions. Many of them have become songwriters, etc. So time-wise, what will it cost you time-wise? That's always a big important question. So we try to be very respectful of that. Home play assignments are only given out 3 times a year. And for some people, they will just do all of the recordings in one afternoon because it's improvised. It's not about trying to get it perfect. It's about showing us and sharing with us where you are in your improvisational practice. And when I say practice, I'm not talking about the kind of practice that we've done as classical musicians.
What? No churning and scales?
I'm talking about your personal practice, right. You and your love of music and your our relationship with music. And so the home plays are an opportunity to really go deep into that. So the homework is not crazy. It's not like massive amounts of
Fun. You
homework.
just play and record
Yeah.
and do your
And
thing.
we get together two to three times a month online. We've been doing it for an hour and a half. We're still trying to decide whether it might be better to do a once a month for 2 hours, and then, maybe put in an hour session where others are leading the session and they get to lead their own sessions. That's what's pretty cool too, is you get to practice it in that way. But what we're trying to figure out is what's going to be manageable for people. That is so important. We try to be very respectful of people's time. And hopefully what we can integrate into it is going to be the opportunity to attend 1 or 2 weekends a year. What is a weekend? A weekend is a Saturday immersive experience where you in Montreal at least, where you drop yourself into the Music for People experience. You show up, you are just like all the other players. We facilitate you. Mary comes up to Montreal. We invite guests up to Montreal. You'll have to be coming up to Montreal at some point to do that. And the MLPer gets to live, what does the live experience feel like? We do this a bit online too.
Good.
And then the Sunday is spent, this is Leading Lab. That's it. Okay, we all gather back, everybody in the MLP program, just the MLPers. Now, the public who just came to have fun, they're not there. It's just the MLPers. You get to practice. So you get to jump in that circle, get a sense of what it feels like. What is it like to do a stop cut? What is it like to bring people in, to do a call to groove? What does it feel like to start a drone, a choir using drone tones? It's really, really beautiful. So you get the chance to try out all those things. And some people have also been inventing things while they've been at home. So we get a lot of amazing creative stuff that happens too. And the Sunday in Montreal always ends with, hey, invite your friends, invite your family. We're having an open circle in the afternoon.
Great.
So it's an hour and a half, and depending on the number of leaders, and it's co-led by everybody in the program. So it's kind of like that, you've done that workshop, but what a wonderful thing to now share that with your friends and your family, what you've been doing.
So after that's, I mean, it's great to see how the weekends and so on have evolved. I mean, they've had, we've over the 30 years and meeting where the need is now. Okay, so at level, let's go really, really short. So level 1, after level 1, what can a level 1 certificated person do? What have they got the skills to do?
They're more comfortable with improvisation. They have basis of MFP techniques and facilitator techniques, so they can introduce music improvisation facilitation into their classroom with their choir. We always appreciate being referenced. That's a really nice thing. These are skills that are based on Music for People. Yep. And but they can just take what the knowledge base and the experience into their own classrooms or into their own projects and recording or composition projects or whatever they plan to do. I've had a couple of Concordia students who've used it in the girls' rock camps or different camps, music camps, etc., and they find it works so well because, of course, in music camps, you really want to fill that time with as much music making as possible. Second level is going deeper. And this is something where a lot of people, I never want us to lose sight of one thing. This is also a program about personal transformation through music.
And I'll stop you there because I think that's fun. That's the first place. That is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Whatever else happens on top of it, anybody going even through a one day, let alone I went through 4 years. You went through 4 years, 4 times a year, 4 years live. There's no way that you can't change. And it really is fundamental personal self-expression, personal self-knowledge, personal transformation to get we do a lot of mindset shifting. We get a lot of those old thought forms about I can't and failure and should and shouldn't transformed and into I can, and this is how I can do it.
The power, I've always used this funny term, which is, what has music taught me?
Hmm. Yeah.
And Music for People opened that avenue.
Right.
Because when you improvise, you're confronted with what? You're confronted with yourself and
Absolutely. Yeah.
your inner voice, your listening
Exactly.
or lack of listening. And coming into that, I mean, it just brought me back to my creativity and myself and my musical soul. And that of course is going to have it's going to have a ripple effect in the rest of our lives.
For sure.
So, for example, I mean, as a teacher, I've become a much better listener, to my students. And and
Because we
as a
know
result,
teachers do talk a little, and they can,
oh, yeah, I'm one of those.
Yeah.
And we learn so much, when we stop and listen to what a student has to share. I'm blown away every day, and I still am by, all the amazing new things that I learn. So level 2 is going deeper into that personal transformation, into that deep mindset. It's almost like, there's a lot more in here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, it hasn't been as long. It's funny when I think of it, because for me, it's only been 9 years, but I learned something new every time I facilitate a session or go to an MFP workshop. I always learn something new about myself, about my thought process, about my music process. Now, coming to the third level, if this is something that you feel you want to facilitate and hold workshops and hold it under the Music for People banner, and or in future you might be interested in training future facilitators, then that's where you would really want to go to that third level. Of course, the personal transformation is still there, and it doesn't mean you become you have to become a certified Music for People person. So for many, it's just, no, I need to go very deep into my process and continue the third year. And some are even considering coming back for the fourth year and doing a musicianship track purely for themselves, as a gift to themselves. Mm-hmm. Never mind teaching and facilitating. I want to delve into my music.
And that third level is where there's a bit of a divergence. So people who want to facilitate,
you can choose a leadership track, or you can choose the musicianship track.
And then the leadership, we've seen CDs come out, we've seen community projects come out, we've seen, this is your own personal thing. Yes. Or you want to, so I could very much see wanting to do both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drum circle facilitators, for example, who are really excited about bringing more instruments into their circles, are then excited because they're playing these instruments and want to keep exploring melody and so on, and voice and guitar and other instruments. Right. So it's, it's, I'd say that for me, it became less about what am I going to get certificate-wise, and became more about how is this enriching my life?
Who am I becoming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
because at the end, that's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what, right? No matter what we're doing. So Irene, thank you. I want to thank you so much for taking time out. I know we've had time trying to get, I know you were busy with school and finishing things up there. And I'm so glad we've been able to talk and just to see you and have a little chat with you. It's been great.
I've enjoyed it. Can I add one really important thing at the end of this? We are not just an organization for classical musicians. Yeah. I really want to underline that. Before I started in classical music, my background was in pop and rock and musical theater. And, this is a program for anyone who loves music. And we're also about expanding. So we are not style specific. And that's what I really love about this. This is an open course for any style of music, any instrument that you play.
And I will add a bit to that because because we use styles as a tool.
Yes.
And I know when I've taken this work, and I've done it when I was working at National Music Camp, I would do this as part of our training of my staff. And we had 17 to 25-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were in high school, some of them were in a jazz program, some were in classical program, some were in music theater, some had just played classical. There was a range of musical experience. And the jazz musicians learned a huge amount from this because it was the first time that they had no lead sheets and they had no bass progression to kind of go through. They weren't playing out of the fake book.
Right.
And for those with a jazz background, this is highly, what they told me was that they learned to listen differently. And they also had to get over their own fears, because we're all human. It's not about jazz or classical or folk or blues or whatever it is. It's all that confidence, that little bit of I'm not good enough, or am I enough? Is this good enough? That addresses everything. Mm-hmm. And so we take away, I'm classical, I'm jazz, I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah. I'm a human being who loves making music, and I want to make it as authentically and from as deep a place, and I want to make my music. Thank you very much.
And in the styles exploration on the other side, where people learn from the rock musician, who is usually a DIY, it's rock. As a rock musician, how did I learn? I listened. I wrote down lyrics. I sang along. I danced to it. I played the chords along. I taught myself. Mm-hmm. And I think that what this brings is it raises that confidence level and then as well, and gives more tools. And I think for the DIY person, it really even gives them more, I've got to try this. Exactly. And they usually take off with this. So on both ends, it gives so much. And with the styles, what's important, I think, is it's not about replicating a style. It's not about some very shallow copying of a style. I think the whole purpose is listening and embodiment. Because most of the music that is acquired, if we think, I think how we learn music is acquired through embodiment. If we think from infant, we embody the music that surrounds us. Mm-hmm. So when we open up our bodies and our ears to this and we embody that music, that it's so much different, all music, all styles, this expands our vocabulary.
Fantastic. Irene, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks for letting me add that at the end.
Absolutely. I think it was important. Yeah.
Great.
So this has been a very rich, full, deep, expansive conversation. I always know that's going to go that way with Irene. I know we're going to get a lot that we can dig into and grab from. But I will end by saying it is June 12th, Saturday, June 12th for the day. You can pop in and out. We are recording. So if you want to register, recordings will come up later. We do try to make our sessions accessible. So we have levels of tuition. You can pay a subsidized tuition, a supported tuition. There is a full tuition. You can pay your tuition and give something extra to help someone else come. You can pay your tuition and pay another full tuition to help someone really get into it as well. We have all those options. It's at musicforpeople.org. Click events and look for online events. It will be there, and it's all over our Facebook page. You can find the link there. But musicforpeople.org. Look for SummerBreeze MusicFest, and you have a choice of 17 sessions. And Irene has one more thing.
Even if you're sick of Zoom, this is an investment, I will tell you, because when you bring this live, it's magical. So I know we're Zoom weary. I get it. Well, but I think this is well worth the investment.
Absolutely. And you know what? This is what we have to work with. This is what it is. So there it is. And we can complain about being Zoomed, and there are times when there are enough. And yet this is how we do it. This is how we do. So
yes.
Okay, musicforpeople.org. We look forward to seeing you, Irene. Thank you so very much. And
Thank you, Sharon.
we'll see you on June 12th.
Sounds great. See you all,
Yay,
hopefully.
bye.
Bye.